So, you finally pieced your character together, and now you finally get to put the finishing details on them. All for it to end up looking like this by the time you color it. Yikes. Now, color theory is a whole-ass beast of its own. There are endless nuances to colors that change based on culture and context that I could spend hours talking about. However, I don't want this video to be more than 5 minutes if I'm being entirely honest, so I'm just gonna give you a simple rundown. Like an AI summary, minus the AI. Also known as a summary for those of you who don't understand how to exist without the absence of robots telling you what to do. There are two main problems with these color choices that I've made here. The most obvious one being that there are way too many colors. Like, seriously, how many are there? 20? 30? My own greed sickens me. My biggest word of advice when it comes to picking a color palette is, the less color the better. The sweet spot that tends to work the best for my designs is anywhere between 8 to 12 colors. Going below that number is also a great alternative, but anything above 12 starts to muddy the palette. The last thing you want to do is mindlessly place down colors for the sake of it, rather than putting intention behind each one. 10 colors or less may seem like a really small amount to some of you, but this generalization can apply even to complex character designs. I can even prove this by bringing back my fancy detail spectrum from the first video in the series. Come on, I put a lot of thought into this bad boy. You thought I was going to use it once and then drop it? Let's pick the spectrum apart and count the colors present on both extreme ends, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Taking a look at BoJack Horseman, we can see that he has 8 clear distinct colors. Pretty self-explanatory. Going back to Genshin Impact, it's a bit harder to completely pinpoint distinct colors on Child's design, because this art style uses complex shading and whatnot. But, with some special editing effects, magic, and bullshittery, we can simplify the core of his design down to about 12-ish colors. What I'm getting at is, you don't need to hit every hue on the color wheel to make your character look complex. In fact, using too many colors can have the opposite effect, making your character look amateur and irritable. The second fatal flaw with the color scheme I picked out is that I didn't give my character decisive temperature. Now what do I mean by that? Let's take a look at the color wheel. Because it's a circle, we can evenly split the thing into 2 halves. Warm colors and cool colors. The difference between warm and cool colors isn't actually some weird temperature science, but more of an idea of psychological appeal and contrast. If we compare 2 colors on opposite ends of the wheel, let's say these two for example, which color would you naturally more associate with fire? And what about these colors? And these? With that in mind, it's important to pick and choose your character's colors around the temperature you want to give them. Because warm and cool colors are on opposite sides of the wheel, picking and choosing from all over can give your character a lukewarm sort of feel. What I find best is to explore the idea I want to give off with my character to decide what side of the color wheel I want to focus on. Similar to shape language, colors can say a lot about who you're looking at. If I see a character wearing all darker, colder colors, I might assume they're a colder person. Or if they're wearing vibrant yellows and greens, my first thought is that they may be a very happy, energetic person. Of course, this is all subjective and simplified, but the idea still stands. Once I decide what temperature of colors I want to give my character, I start fine-tuning from there. I aim for my color ratio to be mostly centered around that temperature that I picked. If I'm using 8 colors for my character, I want at least 5 or 6 to be temperature specific or neutral to set my base, with the remaining colors being free game for anywhere else on the wheel. This ultimately can help make your character feel more cohesive and well thought out, not to mention, as stated with shapes, can start setting up a cycle of assumption and curiosity which draws people to stories to begin with. Here are some characters that I think apply this temperature ideal really well in their designs. Anyways, yeah, that's my micro lecture on colors. If you found this advice useful, use it. Or don't, I don't really care. I don't really have any other topic of character design scripted at the moment, so if there's any particular subjects you want me to touch on, just let me know in the comments. Or send me a letter via carrier pigeon. And, subscribe for more art stuff. Yeah.